When I think of my nostalgia for Divinity Original Sin 2, I remember a massive game and a massive world with a crazy journey. I have enjoyable thoughts on the combat system and how there was voice acting basically everywhere, which was an absolute essential thing for me. To this day, at this time of rewatch, it is also the longest game I've ever played at 126 hours across 11 days streamed. And after rewatching my playthrough, I've decided to place it ahead of Xenoblade Chronicles 1. Here's why. Playing through the game provided quite a different feeling than most games I normally play. It was very open and there were choices abound that influenced where I would go, who I would talk to, and who would die by my hand. I explored every nook and cranny of the game and looted so many barrels and crates that while I likely didn't 100% the game, it sure felt like I did. I also found myself surrounded by some cool characters and stories surrounding them. I developed a party of one rogue/ranger, a two-handed weapon warrior, and two mages. My composition really allowed me to navigate tons of obstacles, and as the game progressed, everyone ended up with mobility skills, support spells, and healing. On top of that, I played the game on tactician difficulty, which caused many fights in the early game to take multiple hour-long attempts. Despite that, it felt like I was really in tune with the combat and its limitations. I did encounter many irritating aspects though, such as accidentally moving when I didn't want to, inconsistent targeting, and some air spells just doing their own thing. Ultimately, I ended the experience amazed. The game was so much more expansive than I thought it would be, where I remarked that the island with Fort Joy was assumed to be the entire game. I also went through each ending and got to personally choose the one that was right for me. Despite the ending sequence bugging out and requiring some ingenuity on my part, I managed to overcome it. It definitely felt like one of the coolest games I had ever played. It was neat to relive the moments of this game, especially considering I remembered some things wrong. Some fights were way more challenging than I originally thought, and others I breezed by. Or in some cases, there were people I thought I fought that I didn't. Despite me going anywhere and everywhere, I did enjoy the story of the game. It certainly feels disjointed because of the open world nature, but it was very neat to go down multiple rabbit holes, with some even linking to multiple parts of the game's various acts. I also think the ending had some very cool reveals, although I do think it's a shame they kept them all for the very end, because a few of them would have been impactful earlier. The combat was also very cool and unique. Despite my stumblings with it, it felt mostly fair, and I think I'm a big fan of enemies playing by the same rules as the player characters. With that said, I do feel like my past self's criticisms definitely hold true. There were many sequences where enemies would take advantage of certain elevations or positions that my characters couldn't, to the point where it felt like it was cheating. Some fights were also just unbelievably unfair at times, and having that coupled with mistakes like accidentally moving when you never intended to, being unable to target an enemy because of unknown or known reasons, charmed allies burning through every score on the inventory, opportunity attacks sometimes not going off, or the plethora of other issues I encountered, things felt rough here and there. My past self also experimented with the videos in this series, and admittedly, it was a large detriment. For the fights that I struggled with, I removed all the failed attempts except for the first. In many cases, this probably turned into a net positive, but I certainly could have handled it with more finesse. The most controversial, though, was the removal of shopping. While it's true that I spent literal hours sitting in shops trying to uncover what to buy or trying to steal books and gold from shopkeepers, my level up decisions were caught in the crossfire. This meant that we never really got to understand the build that I was playing, why I chose it, or how I planned for the future. It's also super annoying because we rarely got to see all the cool items I buy and equip. Based on memory, I ranked Divinity Original Sin 2 at 28 out of 117, and that feels surprisingly low. This game is definitely a masterclass of fun and experimentation, and there were very few times where I felt limited. The story and characters were cool, the combat was fun, and the exploration felt rewarding. The fact that there's voice acting also effectively means that I could play the game in the first place, which is something that I greatly appreciate. With all of that said, I think this comes ahead of Xenoblade Chronicles 1. The sprawling journey kept me invested for well over 100 hours and hit all the right notes for the story and combat department. I felt engaged throughout the majority of the game, and despite my questionable VOD cuts or the game's limited usage of its party characters, I feel it achieves everything Xenoblade Chronicles 1 wants to do, but gives you more of it and in varied doses.